There was nothing more horrible in 1872 than the Atlantic Ocean, where mystery still remains a mystery of the deep. The story revolves round the Mary Celeste, a brigantine merchant ship that sailed from the New York harbor on November 7th for Genoa, Italy. Members on board include Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, and 7 crewmen. The ship was loaded with 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol. The voyage began with no incident, fine sunny sky, and the water was as smooth as a mirror. Captain Briggs was a man of discipline and authority in the sea most of his time as a mariner. His team was hired because of their proficiency and reputation for being dependable. As the reader could see, by all indications, there was every possibility of things being normal. Slightly over a month later, on the 5th of December, 1872, the British brig Dei Gratia was on the high seas, mid-Atlantic, 400 miles due east of the Azores. David Morehouse realized that their ship, and in fact any ship present in those waters, needed to be rescued from this sea. He immediately knew what it was, the Mary Celeste, a ship that he had some acquaintance with the captain. Remarkably, the Mary Celeste was in a disorganized state, as if it had no rudder. The sheets of sails were half raised and not properly set, and were fully blown by the winds. Its crew was nowhere to be seen. Captain Morehouse and a small boarding party went over in a launch to have a look. When they are on the ship, they had the feeling it was an empty ship, or so it seemed to them. Shared personal effects remained unharmed at sea, and no one was reported fighting when the crew was kidnapped. The ship logs were also not damaged and included an entry of November 25th, the ship being somewhere off the Azores, though none of the entries made me feel that something was wrong. The alcohol cargo of the ship was left almost intact, with only 9 barrels empty. The lifeboat was gone, and so was the only compass they had on board the ship. Oddballs of all, the ship was in working condition, thus no major compound damage that would lead to abandonment of the ship. The mystery of the Mary Celeste generated a lot of interest. What could have led the crew to desert a vessel in good condition and most probably make away with captain's valuable belongings? There have been so many theories developed over the years that one could hardly state one is more exciting than the other. There is the belief that a violent storm could have convinced the crew that the ship was itself sinking. Maybe they left in the lifeboat but were never to be seen again on the high seas. But this theory fails to explain why the ship was virtually without any trace of the storm. It might also be attributed to the effect of denatured alcohol, which was used in processing the final film print. Others say that the leakage of fumes in the cargo may have led to an explosion, or the possibility of an explosion. Frightened, the crew might have left the ship momentarily with the purpose to get back as soon as it became safe to do so. If this was the case, then they would have probably gotten lost on their way back. Other myths are related to piracy, however. The remains of the ship, products, and worth items were never looted. Some people talk of mutiny, but such ill intentions were never backed by any acts of aggression or any form of rioting. Some even found supernatural causes where they attributed the deserted vessel as a result of the interference by spirits. However, it is really easy to lose sight of that, given how much of the narrative plays out amidst the intrigue. Captain Briggs was married with children. Sarah, his wife, was sweet and tender-hearted. Their sweet, angelic daughter Sophia made up the happy family unit. They also were sailors who expected their wives and children at home, and may also have been expecting to be paid for their work. What must they have thought as they listened to whatever indescribable horror drove them to this desperate act and left the safety of a ship? Were they alive when they embarked the lifeboat, or was the hopeless living death the instant that the Mary Celeste was abandoned? The ship was then taken to Gibraltar, and despite an extensive inquiry, the reason for the desertion was never satisfactorily explained. It sank a few months later, and was later salvaged, and sold again and again, but the curse of this ship continued from its reign with the Black Spot. It is for this reason today the story of the Mary Celeste is one of the greatest solvable mysteries in maritime history. It has been the subject of thousands of books and movies and myths and legends across the world. Was it a coincidence that it happened a day after the eclipse, or perhaps it was caused by a mechanical failure, or an act of humans, or an act of God? The Atlantic Ocean, an ocean so big and unforgiving, is a good place to keep secrets. To this day, questions remain unanswered as the Mary Celeste continues to proudly chug through the ocean of time and space. Some secrets are always kept hidden and buried underneath layers of sands, for the tides are not kind to truths. The Mary Celeste teaches us that the sea is mysterious as the itself. It hides things that can never be found.